Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Zdenek's English podcast. I know it's been a while. I know I'm not as active and as prolific as I used to be, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it up to you now with this episode, and it's with Cara. Cara, welcome back to Zdenek's English podcast.
Hi, Zdenek, and thank you for having me back. That was very kind of you to invite me, especially after a bit of a break. So I appreciate that.
I thought you were going to say, especially after the fiasco last time. No, actually, it was a nice episode.
It went very well last time, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. The last episode we recorded was, listeners, episode 412, and it was about a year ago, I think, right?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I trust you on that one.
Do you also trust me on my pronunciation of your name, Cara? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm very open. I can't pronounce your name, so it really doesn't matter how you pronounce my name.
Have a go then.
Zdenek.
Yeah, you can. What are you talking about?
Is that totally it? I think before.
Yeah.
I wanted to add a vowel between the Z and the D. You know.
Zdenek.
Yeah, Zdenek. Like Zebedee from the Magic Roundabout, for people who know that trippy kids show. Yeah, no, my name, you can pronounce it kind of, there's a lot of different pronunciations of it because people pronounce the R differently, they pronounce the A's differently, so I'm pretty open.
It's quite easy. It's like a car and it's just Cara.
Yeah,
right? It's
two syllables. Yeah, pretty, but there's a lot of variation in the way people say it. Okay,
fair enough. So, Cara, I'm gonna take on a little challenge here. I'll try to tell you what I remember about you. Yeah, you tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not gonna be very long. Don't worry. So, well, your name is Cara Leopold. It's also on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. Yeah. This is also done on my YouTube channel, so you can actually see Cara, and she has got a label with her name, a sticker, Cara Leopold. And you are an English teacher, just like me, originally from Scotland. However, you are living in France, somewhere near Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
And you specialize in teaching English through films and TV shows. Am I right? And also, you focus on listening skills mainly. Is this all correct so far?
Pretty much. I would say, yeah, focusing really just on movies now, and then not just listening, but other skills like speaking and also reading and writing. Like we kind of do a bit of everything, but always with films at the center. But yeah, that's pretty good. You remember a lot.
Well, I did my homework. Okay. So are TV shows out of favor now then?
Well, let me explain it sort of this way. Like ever since I created a movie club where we like watch and discuss a movie every month, I haven't really known what to do with TV shows, right? Because there are clubs that exist where people watch TV shows. There's notably Lauren from Polyglot Station who has a language TV club. But in those kinds of clubs, you have to like watch an episode every week. It's pretty fast paced, and that works for TV shows because the episodes are shorter in length and there's maybe less to kind of discover. Once you're following a series and you get into it and the characters, like it like builds on itself and it gets easier every week in a way because you know what to expect. You know how the characters sound. They use the same catchphrases every week, like whatever. And all these things can make TV series easier. But that's a bit too fast paced for me.
Okay.
I'm more of a slow person. So that's why I've created a club where we spend a whole month like talking about a movie and working on it and thinking about it. And that really gives people a chance to say by the end of the month, like, wow, I really understand this. And I had some really interesting discussions about it. And I understand it on a deeper level. So that's just kind of where I am.
That's your approach, That's perfectly fine. Like Personally, I think I have talked to you about this. I'm a TV series guy. Like if you ask me which one would you drop if you could only pick one,
Yeah.
which one would you keep and which one would you drop? I would go for the TV shows. I just like to identify with the characters and whatnot. But obviously, we're talking about you as a teacher and using films for this purpose to help your students or clients. So of course, that's a different thing.
Yeah, and no, a few years ago, yeah, I was really into a lot of TV series. You know, we went through a really like high point for TV, you know, peak TV or whatever they were calling it, and there were some really good shows on TV. I feel like that's been slowing down a little bit in the last few years. Although, to be honest, with movies as well, we watch a lot of older movies. You know, we don't watch recent movies. Yeah, because well, what are the recent movies that come out? They're all like superhero films, you know. So I can't do much with that.
Nothing too
Nothing
fancy.
to discuss. There's no dialogue.
Or maybe it's too fancy.
I don't really know because I don't really watch those kinds of films. So yeah, we tend
neither
to
do I. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. But one of the questions I was going to ask you, I thought it was a pretty obvious one, but now I'm not so sure about it anymore. I thought I would ask you about a film, a recent film, something that came out that, because as I said, I don't watch films so much, but perhaps I could give it a go again. But now I don't know if you are you focusing on the recent sort of are you keeping in touch with what's the word? The recent cinematography. What's the word? Is that correct?
With like recent film releases or what's on in the cinema. Honestly, not really. I suppose a bit in France, but even then we don't really go to see that much. Like we want to go to the cinema soon, but it's because they're going to show, what are those really famous Japanese cartoons called?
Manga.
Like films by Studio
Anime.
Yeah, they're going to show some films from Studio Ghibli. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. I know the French way to pronounce it, but
tell us the Japanese, French name at least. We do have some French listeners.
Ghibli, so. They would call it Studio Ghibli. And so I mean, but those are films from a little while ago. They just happened to be doing a series on it. At the cinema, so we might go and see that. And then the most recent film that we saw, it must have been during the summer, we saw the new Wes Anderson movie, Asteroid City.
Sounds like a science fiction or
yeah, kind of asteroid.
Just a wild guess.
more than about more than that, I would say. But with that kind of space theme. So we usually go and see like the new Wes Anderson movie at the cinema, maybe once every 1 or 2 years or something. So that's in terms of new releases, I'm not necessarily super up to date with what's coming out.
That's all right. That's okay. Okay, so I've got a plan for this episode, Cara. I think you already know about it. I asked Chat GPT to create some interesting questions for you. Yeah.
Oh right. Wow.
About sort of films and possibly teaching English. But before we do that, would you mind telling our listeners where they can find you? And I know you have got a special offer for them as well, so it's all yours.
Okay. Well, they can go to leo-listening.com. That's also what I am on YouTube. And where else can they find me? LinkedIn as well, where I'm Cara Leopold, my actual name. I use my real name. And those are the main places. And I created a new, well, I don't know if it'll be very new by the time this is released, but I created a new ebook which is free. It's called How to Really Learn English with Movies, and I've put together.
So the listeners can find this free book on leo-listening.com.
Yeah,
right.
They will find it. Yeah, they'll find it there. It's on the homepage. I can also give you a link where they can get it more
Yeah, we can put it in
directly.
the show notes as well.
Great.
Cool.
Okay. And I've put together some, well, what I call proven strategies to get fluent with film, because I see people sort of making the same mistakes, just thinking that they can switch on a movie and then that's it. They'll get taught something, but it doesn't quite work that way. So I've put together some of my favorite strategies that I've developed over the last few years that actually work, so that you can, develop your spoken English, your listening skills, your speaking skills with films.
I think this is lovely. I think a lot of people study English in this kind of way. Maybe they don't even call it study, but that's what a lot of people do. But maybe they don't do it in the most effective way. So I think that's where you come in with your proven strategy. So why not give this a go, listeners?
Yeah, if you like films but you're watching a lot of them and you still need the subtitles and you feel like you're not improving, then go check it out. It's based on my mistakes learning with films, but then also my successes helping English learners learn with films. So, hopefully with all that experience, it translates into something that people can use and learn from. So
I'm sure it does. It follows your real life experience, and so you're a teacher, so you also know what you are doing in that sense as well. So I think it's a great combination. We've already spoken about that, but now I'm very curious to find out more about you, Cara, and your answer. So what I did is that I asked Chat GPT to create some questions for you. These are my exact words.
Okay.
Hi. I actually didn't say hi to ChatGPT. I thought that would be redundant. Yeah, so I didn't say hi. I was kind of rude. I went straight to the point. I said, I'm interviewing a guest for my podcast. She's a teacher who teaches English through films and TV shows. Can you make 20 fun questions I could ask her? Something playful and lighthearted. So that was these were the prompts. And then I picked out the most interesting ones out of those 20. So,
okay.
Shall we
All
try
right.
them?
I'm curious. Wow, you made the machine work. Like 20 questions. That's a lot. I suppose it's got infinite question generating capability and it never gets tired. So
yeah, but the thing is, like, if you ask for too many, it will get a bit repetitive, and the quality of questions, I think, goes down as well.
Goes down. Yeah.
Yeah. So it did its best. Let's put it that way.
It did its best. Okay, well, that sounds like a realistic assessment. I remember when people were talking about AI around this time last year, and it felt like some people thought they were talking to God or something. They really.
But if I'm honest, I'm using the free version. Yeah, so like I'm pretty sure that the paid version is way better. And I
apparently,
also heard it, I heard it from a lot of people, so I'm sure it is true. They're just milking the cow. It's a great new thing, and they want to get rich through it, which we kind of understand.
Theft, through stealing existing.
Oh right, yeah. Didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's really thinking about that. Yeah.
Cara, sorry.
People who are affected are thinking about it, like translators and writers and anybody who creates words for a living, because their words have now been taken and fed into the machine, and they don't get any money.
Do you know, Cara, that in my country, there's some recent news that one university gave up on master theses
Wow.
because they have realized that they can't battle ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in general. So they're just given up on it, and there's no master's thesis.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, I was going to say with Chat GPT, I could write a master's thesis in Czech now. I mean, if you just gave me a prompt in Czech,
you totally could.
And you just generate a bunch of Czech. I mean, obviously the problem would then come if they needed to interview me about it and ask questions. Then I'd be stuck.
And also, I've tried asking some questions, and it's not perfect. Like the grammar sometimes is a bit off. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Like I think ChatGPT in English is a bit further. But anyway,
English,
Cara,
the database is huge, compared to
Czech. That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, what did it generate? Go on. I'm curious about these questions.
Okay. So let's go. Hang on. Just give me one question. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Not question. I'm the one who's going to give you questions or ask you questions. So, have you ever had a movie or TV show that completely surprised you in terms of its impact on your students' learning? So I guess we're talking about a film here.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. Well done, Chat GPT and Zdenek, prompter.
Chat GPT takes more credit than me, I think.
Oh well,
I only copy pasted it and read it out loud here. So
yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Credit where credit is due. Yeah, exactly. I would say, in terms of their learning. That's interesting. I mean, I think the really important thing in Movie Club is that the movie generates discussion. For me, that's the number one, like, criterion.
Yep.
Yeah. Because, then that allows people to, write about the movie in our discussion forum and talk about it. And a film that was good for that, and that people maybe weren't sure about at first, was RoboCop. So
really,
yeah, that's like, actually, before I watched it, I just thought it was a stupid 80s action movie, and I was like, this is not the kind of thing that I would normally watch. But it's actually a really profound film. So it's about a cyborg. So this is very much in the Chat GPT theme, so half human, half robot. Police officer, and who like starts getting his memory back. So his memory was supposed to be wiped. So he sort of died in the line of duty, and they recovered his like body, and they turn him into this cyborg, and they wiped his memory, or at least they thought he wiped his memory, but he starts remembering things. And the film is about a really corrupt city. It's set in Detroit, and there's a lot of criminality and a lot of corruption, and it's just very interesting in terms of its themes. There's like some really strong anti-capitalist themes, as there are in quite a lot of 80s movies, which is really interesting if you compare to now, where nobody really seems to talk about that. It's not just... And because the idea of a whole like privatized police force and everything is maybe would be a bit controversial, and that's kind of what
top, yeah.
And but this film is really I remember coming across a comment on YouTube. Somebody said, this is the greatest film about what it truly means to be human. And I think that is really true of any movie that's about like robots or cyborgs or artificial intelligence in any way. It's kind of a mirror for our humanity. So I would say for the students in the club, it was really surprising, and they really got into the movie and ended up really enjoying it. And because it's a movie that has been analyzed and discussed a lot. So on the internet, there's a lot of like blog posts about it or video essays, and that's also something I look for. Movies that have kind of that level of analysis are always really interesting to discuss, because you can go much deeper. Because sometimes we don't understand movies because we understand them a bit superficially, but then when you actually look at like on a deeper level, you realize, oh, okay, in fact, this movie is about these themes that I didn't understand because I didn't quite understand, maybe the symbolism or the metaphors or something. And then when you go a layer deeper, there's even more to discuss. So there's been a couple like that, but that's the one that springs to mind today, maybe because we're talking about artificial intelligence.
No, that's a great choice. I must have seen this film myself when I was very, very little, maybe in my teenage years. I do remember this. Yeah, I have.
It's very, very violent.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, what does it say about me then? I don't think I'm that violent, but I think when I was a teenager, I think I would seek out films like that.
Yeah, maybe because it's a bit kind of cool and edgy, because it's sort of the thing maybe not supposed to watch. But it's a really good film. Still holds up today, and the themes are like more relevant than ever, I feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some of these themes are just timeless, right, as well. But
Mm.
this one now with the rise, with the advent of the artificial intelligence, I think it's very, you know, it's very on.
Yeah,
So
very
yeah,
timely.
very timely. That's a very good word. Yeah. So okay, now the next question is: what classic film or TV show do you think every English learner should watch, and why? And
Oh,
you can't mention RoboCop anymore.
I can't mention RoboCop. Well, this one is easy because this is a film I could have answered with the last question with. I would say Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah,
That
okay.
is really our movie club favorite, and it's another film that you could misunderstand if you read it kind of superficially, because ultimately, like, it is a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
There are those elements, but the main element is the time loop. So, for people who don't know this film, like in other languages, I also really love discussing translations of movie titles. In other languages, it's called something like, A Day Without an End, or there's only the German version is really silly. It's called Every Day the Groundhog Says Hello, or something daft. Do you know the Czech title of Groundhog Day?
I don't, but obviously this is a famous film, and also I think the English phrase "it's like a Groundhog Day" comes from it,
Yeah,
right?
well, it's
Which
actually
means like
come
yeah,
into the language. So it's, yeah, you would use it for like a really repetitive situation. So during the
yeah,
pandemic, a lot of people felt like they were
every
trapped
day
in
was the
Groundhog Day.
same.
Every
Yeah.
day is exactly the same. So in fact, Groundhog Day is a thing in the US, and I thought they just invented it for the film, but it's an actual tradition. So it happens on
Ah,
February the 2nd in this town called Punxsutawney. They have this tradition where if the groundhog comes out of his little hole in the ground, so a groundhog is a kind of rodent, like a sort of marmot type, you
animal.
know,
Yeah. Hmm.
animal, and if it comes out of its hole, and depending on where its shadow falls, there will either be 6 more weeks of winter or an early spring.
I
So
see.
it's a bit of a silly tradition. And in the movie, this guy called Phil Connors, who's a weatherman, he has to go to this town to cover this event. And he hates the town, he hates Groundhog Day, hates the groundhog, just doesn't want to be there,
Yeah.
and tries to, leave as soon as possible. But he and his colleagues get stuck because there's a storm. So they have to spend the night there. And then he wakes up the next day, and after a little while, he realizes it's still February 2nd. And this keeps happening every day. And
Yeah.
he's not very happy about it, obviously, because, well, you wouldn't be, would you? Because nobody else is in the time loop. It's just him. So for everyone else, it's a brand new day every day. And for him, it's the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see his kind of struggle to, at the beginning, he wants to just escape it or like manipulate the situation or whatever. And
Hmm.
eventually he actually changes as a person, and he's able to cope better with being stuck in the same day every day, because he changes his perspective and he changes kind of who he is and the attitudes towards the people in the town. So he starts off very selfish and arrogant, thinking he's better than all these people, and by the end he's
It's like
transformed. So
it's like a journey
mm,
of self-discovery. He goes through this
yeah.
epiphany. So yeah, there's a nice phrase for you listeners. It's like a Groundhog Day, you could say,
Mm.
um, which means it's like a situation or event that has happened before. It's almost similar to the word deja vu, kind of,
Yeah,
but it,
that comes up in the film, but yeah, it's really this idea of like, yeah, you're
yeah,
stuck and it's just the same thing over and
like a loop.
over and
Yeah,
over.
and it's
Yeah.
boring. I think the idea that it's boring as well is in it. I think right, a little bit.
Well, yeah,
Bec-
definitely, because it's like,
Yeah,
well, and he knows exactly. He gets to the point where he
'cause
knows like exactly what everyone is going to say,
yeah, yeah.
exactly what happens at this time, and then
I
because
mean, in
obviously,
terms of the phrase, if you're looking at the phrase, I think if you say
ah,
it's a deja vu, I wouldn't think it's not about anything being boring. It just means that it has happened before and it's a bit weird. But with the with the phrase, it's like a Groundhog Day. I think there's
it's
more
just
the idea of
repetitive. Yeah,
boredom and tediousness, right?
yeah. So I think that's why
Yeah,
people use it to refer to the lockdown and the pandemic, because yeah.
exactly, exactly. Okay, nice one. Now, how about an English teacher though? Do you think there is a film, or yeah, let's stick with films then, that every teacher should see?
Oh, that every teacher should see.
Yeah, or watch.
Oh gosh.
Maybe to be a better teacher. I don't know. To just
To,
have a different perspective, whatever.
In that case, a good one would be maybe Election with Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon, which is actually a dark comedy about a teacher who's a bit vengeful and who hates a student because she had an affair with his colleague and his colleague got sacked. Oh yeah, man, it's dark. It's dark. I mean, obviously the colleague shouldn't have been having an affair with a student, but still. And yeah, this student is very keen and wants to be the school council president, and she's guaranteed to win because she's the only person who, you know, puts herself forward for the role.
Yeah.
So, and that annoys him because he's got this, you know, axe to grind, and so he finds somebody else. He puts someone else up to, you know, campaigning to be school council president, so that, you know, he finds a really popular kid who's a bit stupid, who's easy to manipulate, and he's like, you know, you should go for it. You should run against Tracy because, you know, people look up to you, they respect you, that you're the captain of the football team, you know.
I think I've seen this one as well.
You think you've seen that movie? Yeah, no, it's a dark one. It's kind of funny because like Matthew Broderick is famous for the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he skips high school for a day and he kind of outsmarts everybody, and you know, he's the really cool kid who everybody loves, and the principal hates him. And then in this movie, he kind of he becomes the, you know, the teacher who's trying to, you know, outwit a student. And yeah, it's really funny, but it's a dark one.
Yeah. Personally, my choice would be the TV show called Mind Your Language.
Oh, that one. Oh God.
It's an old one from the 70s. It's a bit racist, looking at it from nowadays lenses or something. But it's amazing. It's about an English teacher, with a group of foreign students, and it's just so funny. Yeah, it's a comedy. It's like a sitcom.
It's like watching our lives.
Yeah, a little bit. Like the teacher's English is gradually getting worse, and he keeps making the same mistakes as the students.
Right.
So
yeah, that sounds about right.
That.
Yeah,
I love that. I really love that. It's so
that does actually happen.
It does happen.
People should know that.
Yep, absolutely.
There's another series I like called Teachers from the 2000s that takes place in a British comprehensive school, but it's kind of more about like the teachers and their kind of personal lives and their love lives and them going to the pub every afternoon. And yeah, that's a good one as well.
Trying to survive.
Just trying to survive. The hell of working in a school. Yeah,
going about their grey everyday lives. Okay, now how about this one? If you were to create an English language superhero inspired by films and TV shows, what would their name be, and what powers would they have? So English language superhero. This is Chat GPT for you listeners. It's very creative. It's sometimes asking impossible questions.
Oh God, this is because of all those stupid superhero movies. Let me just give a silly answer. I don't know. He'd probably be you see, I'm already gendering this superhero because
it could be a she. Absolutely could be a she. Yeah,
not superheroine, but I suppose fluency man. And he just looks at you, and then you start speaking fluently.
Right. So it's a good person then. It's a good person. someone who will impact you in this positive light. I think this would be the end of English teachers, though. It's worse. This is worse than artificial intelligence. It's a massive threat to our very existence, Cara. You should not shoot yourself. You should not shoot ourselves, I suppose I could say, in the foot.
No. That is a bad idea. Have you got one?
A foot?
No. Are you exempt?
I don't know. I think it's what you suggested is actually pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I would go with what you said. Fluency, man. I like the ring to it as well. The name.
Yeah, it does actually sound quite good. I'll pitch it to Hollywood as a movie.
Go for it. Okay. I'll skip this one. Okay, this is a bit geeky. If your teaching methods were a genre, would they be a romantic comedy, action-packed adventure, or a mysterious thriller? And we don't even have to speak about your teaching methods, but we can just go through some popular teaching methods in general, like which were used throughout history as well. So which one of them would be a dark comedy, a mysterious thriller, and an action-packed adventure?
I would say action-packed adventure for Movie Club. That's what I
for the Movie Club method, let's say.
Yeah. I hope
approach. Yep. It's like an approach.
It's like that for people. Mm. Yeah.
That's
that's what I'm aiming for.
Mm-hmm. For me, like something like the grammar translation method, the one where it's all about learning grammar and you have to be correct, you have to get everything right, and you're translating from your L1, from your mother tongue into English. That one would be like a horror movie. a horror, right?
But you say that, but some people actually like doing that, and some people have had good results with that. So one person's horror movie, and a lot of people like horror movies. So
yeah.
But I agree. I wouldn't want to do that now, especially to learn a language. But sometimes a bit of that is okay. Sometimes it can actually help you to translate. Sometimes things go a bit quicker when you explain things that way. I don't know for Czech though, because I don't know if there's much correspondence. Whereas like between French and English, there's actually quite a few times you can save a lot of time by comparing the two.
Well, as you know, I don't really teach Czech people that much. I teach international students. So now I'm currently based in Vietnam, actually. So here it's more prevalent. I can feel it. The students sort of have been through that a lot.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I was thinking as well about like when you learned at school or whatever. You might have done that.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you said, one man's meat, another man's poison, right? Is the phrase, I believe. So
it could be, yeah.
Yeah. What else is there? What else was there? Mysterious thriller. I don't know. Maybe some of those methods, like where it's all about like parroting what the teacher says. Column method, I think it's called. Column method.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
When you just have to repeat after teacher all the time. It's very sort of pronunciation drill based. You just drilling a lot. I find that quite like boring. Like if you say mysterious thriller, that's actually
mysterious thriller sounds really exciting.
Exciting, right? Yeah.
So yeah, not sure if that's
no.
If that would fit. I used to work in a school here where they taught through the silent way, which is a really interesting method that's not really taught that much anymore, but the students got really good results. And the teacher actually doesn't talk much, and they have these like charts on the wall with words on them and colors to represent like pronunciation. And they use these little rods to like represent different words and structures. That is a bit like a mysterious thriller, because you kind of like you maybe don't know where it's going at first, because nobody's doing a lot of explaining and talking, and then you're just gradually like learning the the language, and somebody's like pointing at stuff on a wall, and you're, that helps you fill in your gaps. It was really interesting to observe. I've never taught that way, but I've observed lessons taught that way.
Yeah, I've seen this, like when I was doing my Delta. I've seen this because I saw this because they played a few videos of different teaching methods to us there, and I think they also mentioned the silent method. Yeah. So, okay, right. So let's move on to. I guess we could do one last question here. I'm just looking for a really good one, but I think I only have 2 left. Okay. If you were to organize an Oscar-style award ceremony for your students based on their English language achievements, what categories would you include? I think this is quite good.
Yeah, that is a really good question. Well done, AI. Damn it, the robots are going to take over now. So I would have categories like most insightful comment, like most insightful observation, because really my students have had some really insightful,
so so you
moments.
Reward them for their ideas, basically.
Yeah, for their ideas. Like because what I'm interested in is, what did they take from the movie? What did they notice? And like I say, we also look to, the sort of experts in film analysis or whatever to kind of deepen our understanding. But I'm also really interested in what my club members took. And it's also interesting because, they're from different cultures and everything. So yeah, I would reward insights and observations. And
so you wouldn't. So what about like language abilities or anything like that? Or at least like progress. Let's talk about progress. Progress.
Progress. Well, things like people have told me that thanks to the club, they've stopped watching movies with subtitles. I think just because they were able to relax a bit, and they know that like in the club we will look at specific scenes and do those in detail, so that you don't need to worry about like understanding the whole film perfectly. So I would say, like awards for daring to remove subtitles.
It's a big moment in your study life. I remember it happened to me as well at some point. So it's a huge moment. It's like when you read your first book in English or something like that, right? So it's very important.
That would be one. And I would say also awards for trying things like, I make people listen to lines of dialogue and kind of write them out, and that is a bit of an unusual task for some people. They've never really done that before, and some people get worried about it because they're like, oh, I have mistakes and gaps. But I'm like, but that's absolutely fine, because if you could write the whole line out perfectly, then it's too easy for you.
Hang on. So it's like a dictate. You have to write it out. Okay.
Yeah. And then afterwards I explain to them, okay, so here's what's going on. Here's why you didn't understand it. And for a lot of people, that's been really
dictation,
ear opening, because they're like, oh, and now I know why, I didn't recognize that word, even though I know it.
I remember, like, again, during my studies, they told us that dictation is one of the most interesting exercises, and it's very underused, including by myself, really.
Yeah, because maybe we have like bad kind of associations with it.
I think so, yeah.
Because in France they do it in like French classes, as in, the teacher will read out like a passage from a book, and the idea is that the students are writing out the French in order to get all the spelling right and the grammar, because that can be tricky in written French. So like it's not a very fun activity. Whereas here, you're doing it with films, you're listening to lines of dialogue, you're learning maybe new words and expressions, or you're learning how words sound when people say them fast. So it's a totally different experience, I think.
I think the thing that the ESL people, the experts, praise this activity for is the fact that it combines a lot of different skills. It has a lot of things you have to do. So it's like very kind of challenging. So it's listening, right? It's, I don't know, is it really writing? I wouldn't call it writing, but it's the physical writing, let's say, at least. And then it does sort of test your knowledge of grammar as well. There's the structures, because you can fill in the gaps if you maybe didn't hear.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can.
It's all
make
kind of
guesses.
combined.
Yeah, mean, you can't do too much of it, but like a bit of it is better than, you know, than just listening to things and being like, well, I didn't understand half of that, but I don't know why. You know?
Yeah. I thought it wasn't about writing, but now I'm thinking it's not about creative writing, but it is about testing your spelling, right? So spelling,
as well,
how good you're at spelling, which is part of writing, I guess. But of course, here you are not asked to come up with your own idea, so not that thing. But yeah, dictation should do it. I should do it myself a little bit more often.
Try it. It's easy enough to set up. And my students just like the fact that I pick the lines, because they're like, you pick lines that are hard. You know, like you challenge us. And that's important too. So awards as well for people doing challenging tasks.
Yes.
And getting results from them, but also, you know, it's confronting because you have to, it's very accuracy focused, you know, you're noticing your mistakes, but the mistakes can be really interesting. And I learn a lot from people's mistakes regarding what they don't understand. So it's really useful for me too.
Absolutely. And what about dialogues? Do you also ask your students to read them out? Like, as in, no? That would be, for me, that would be a nice activity as well, as in this is more pronunciation focused.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, what we usually do though with the dictations is then they pronounce them after. It's more of a listening exercise just to reinforce, like, okay, so now you know which sounds change and which ones disappear. So try pronouncing it that way.
Yeah.
You know, to really reinforce. Yeah, it would be cool to, you could also take the script and read lines. But yeah, I really like getting students to record lines. Like sometimes their delivery is like better than the actors. Like they really put the emotion in it. So it's,
they're genuine. They're authentic.
Yes, indeed. So there'd be an award for that as well. Best read line of dialogue.
If there was a reward, I would also give one to Cara, because another fantastic episode with her. Thank you very much. Check her out, leo-listening.com. She's got some interesting stuff there for sure, including some strategies on how to tackle watching movies. So thank you very much, Cara, for being here today. It was a pleasure to talk to you again.
Yeah, and always a pleasure.
Yeah, perhaps another time again.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, take care.
See. You too.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Hi, my name is Sibyl and I'm from Switzerland. I like the Achievers Chamber because I learn a lot in a fun way.
For more information about the Achievers Chamber, go to teacherzdenek.com.